Hello everybody and welcome back to the Top Flight Computers YouTube channel. My name is Connor. Tonight we are going to be building Bertha the Beast. My co-presenter Andrew is kind of bouncing around doing some other stuff right now, so he'll probably be bouncing in here in a moment or so. We'll get to what this build is. This build is centered around an Intel i9-13900K, and that's going to be cooled by a Fractal Design S36, which is Celsius S36, which is sitting on over there. We're going to be putting all that inside of our Gigabyte Z690 AORUS Ultra. That's what our motherboard is going to be. For RAM, we have 4x32 gig DDR5 4800, meaning that we have 128 gigs of DDR5 RAM. For SSDs, we're going to be doing two 1 terabyte SSDs, maybe in RAID 0, maybe in RAID 1. I have no idea, maybe completely separate. That is going to be for the client to decide. For our graphics card, we have our Zotac. Big chunk of a 4090 right here. And for the power supply powering all of this is we have our EVGA 1200 watt platinum power supply over there. Putting this inside of our Corsair 5000B. And for the fans, we're changing out the fans for some Phanteks fans. They have a terrible name. They are the T30s, even though they're actually a much longer name than that, but I'm just gonna call them the T30s for now. So we're gonna go ahead and jump right on into it and get the motherboard unboxed. Toss our CPU, our RAM, and our storage in here. The fans, we went ahead and pre-installed into the case, at least the ones that we could pre-install, so they are already in there, so that way you guys don't need to watch us time-lapse going through and installing fans. If you want to find out more about this system or any of our other systems, please feel free to drop on by to our wonderful new website, toplightpc.com, and you can poke around and explore our wonderful new website. Click on this build and many of our other builds, and if interested in your own, feel free to drop us a line, and at the bottom of every page, there's a contact form. Fill that out and Chris will get in contact with you. This motherboard has a very large amount of peels, so we got to get that knocked out right off the bat. Like I said, this is DDR5. Each one of these DIMMs is 32 gigabytes, meaning that 2 of them are 64 and 4 of them are going to be 128. These have a CAS latency of 38, 38, 38, and we're going to be using all 4 slots. We'll make sure to get all of them populated. And for those of you that are building one of these systems or something similar, make sure to check your BIOS, because depending on when the motherboard was shipped, and actually realistically when it was shipped from the manufacturer, is going to determine if you're going to have to update your BIOS. So on a lot of our previous builds that we have done just in the last week or two, a lot of the motherboards have not been shipping with BIOSes that support the new 13th gen chipsets. So we have to update those BIOSes, which is not an insanely hard process by any sense of the word, but it is slightly frustrating jumping into and doing that, because there's not some really great guides or anything on it, because every motherboard is slightly different. And be careful, because updating your motherboard's BIOS is very, very scary. Because if done incorrectly, it can basically brick the motherboard and break it. So if you are ever in doubt, call the experts, call us. We'll be able to help you out and point you in the right direction. All right, so now I'm just installing our M.2s. If you are building a system, you want to install the drive that you're going to put Windows on, or your operating system, closest physically to your CPU, because there's less lanes, and basically it'll be directly connected to your CPU, not via your chipset. So what that means is basically it's just going to go fast. And if you're paying for those speeds, then you're going to want to make sure that you're actually using them. After this, motherboard will be done. You can go ahead and toss it on into the chassis. Oh, you know what? The big thing I forgot is the back plate. Awesome. All right, now we can go ahead and install our motherboard. So motherboard is in. Now we'll work on the power supply. Oh. Like I mentioned before, this is EVGA's 1200 watt platinum, which means it is the highest efficiency you're going to be able to get. Here's your wad of cables. This is what's called a modular power supply, which means they give you a bunch of cables and then you can plug in basically whatever you need. And then that way you don't have a bunch of junk cables like this block of cables. just wound up inside of your computer. There's our CPU. There's our other CPU. This board only requires a 8+4, but you got to plug in both cables. We're going to need our motherboard, which is our 24 pin. And in this case, we're going to need 4 individual power cables, which I believe that's what these are. Yep. The rest here are going to be SATA power, which we do not need in this instance, Molex, and a few other random cables. We always include these back to the customer, just in the existing bag in case they upgrade. We're not going to be installing all of these cables because there is no need to. All right, and with that, our power supply is installed. So this one, in this case, actually comes with a built-in fan hub. We do not need that. I'm going to go ahead and remove that. So now we get the fun of starting to run some cables. Right, there we go. So our CPU is now connected, or our CPU power, I should say, is now connected. Go ahead and do our front panel connector. Oh, we're making good progress. Install a cooler. Honestly, that's the next step.
Yeah, I don't want to, but I will.
Yeah. Hey, you know, good news, we didn't have to fight with the USB 3.0.
That's true.
Because it's this one's angled properly.
Other way.
Nah. I want that one fan.
Is that what they mean by push-pull? 2 pulls and 1 push?
Nah, this is what that means. You put it right there.
Cancels out.
I would try to do like one here, because then it pulls up the rad.
True.
All right. Now we go ahead and take out a bunch of our PCIe covers and install a graphics card, plug that in, and we'll get a boot. Hopefully. Knock on wood. I don't know if this one's already updated, so we may not actually get a boot. We may have to update the BIOS, like I mentioned earlier in this video, but we shall see. And here is our 4090 giant card. No. Stand this up so I can actually pull in some slack through. That's what the system looks like with Cable Manage. We will place our little panel back on. Panel goes on the back there. Your liquid. Oh, it turned off and then turned back on, so that means it might actually be memory training. Oops. Could be surprising.
Yeah, this means it was made more recently, which is VGA, so it might actually.
So that actually might have posted.
It might have, yeah.
Actually, I bet you that did.
Regardless, look, go and finish.
Yep, we'll double check it and make sure that everything is all good on it. Yeah, my lav mic's barely working, so we're gonna knock this one out here very quickly. This has been a system. Bertha the Beast, thank you. I can't read it because it's too tiny on the screen up there. I had to read the tab that was open. This has been Bertha the Beast. I'll actually sit in frame. Thank you all for joining us. If you want to see the finalized photos of this system, follow us on our website or on Facebook. If you're interested in filling out a form on our website to gain a system like this or one that suits your needs, go ahead and fill that form out. Chris will get in touch and create a bespoke custom computer for you. Other than that, thank you all for watching. Follow us on YouTube as well. Click subscribe for some other builds that we have coming on up and some other 4090 content. So we'll see you all later. Goodbye.